And we are here. Hello again,
Hi.
Army. Good
Hello.
morning. Apabang po. It is 11:35 here on the EST time. And good morning, good afternoon, and welcome. Or good evening, because I don't know if it's, I think there's a lot of, like Korea, it's evening over there right now. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope we have a lot of people jumping on to be with us today. It is, can you believe it is finalement? Le finalement de le programme. It is our last show of our 2.5 day very, very, very amazing event that we have been bringing to you. And this last episode is going to be very much focused on the wellness aspects of Bangtan. You know, our entire 2 days have been about wellness and from different aspects. We talked about self reflection, we talked about recognition, acknowledgement, right?
Hmm.
You gotta be energetic, Terry. and
Oh, there you go.
nah, and then we actually we talked about self truth and really really deep into self truth because a lot of people don't know how to toggle with that concept. And then we talked a lot about we really, really, really did a lot with acknowledgement, which is very important that we did that. So we wanted to then really focus, I would say, on what we the wellness aspect in terms of coping and hope, right? We haven't really dug into that. We do it a lot with our regular shows, right, Terry? We really kind of talk
Yes.
a lot about how the Habangtan has always been a source of coping and hope for us. But I want to end this Festa 2023 event, 10 years of wellness still with you, Bangtan, with thanking them for always being a source of wellness, hope, and love for us in the darkest of times, in the happiest of times, sometimes even in the most painful of times, sometimes even um, no matter when we need them, they always manage to find a way to be with us. And so, yeah, that is what we're doing today. Now, I'm welcoming and I'm hoping that we get some army on. I was just posted it in Instagram to let them know. I'm actually probably going to go live in a minute. It's hard because it's Tuesday here on the East Coast, and it's a rough time, I think, for people to jump on a show. And of course, it is festive. So what do you want to say to Army, my friend? That would be you, Terry.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking to our friends on Insta. What do I
No?
want to say to Army? Well, I hope that you've gotten as much out of these last couple of days as I have. Met some extra new Army, met a lot of people that share the same views, had a lot of fun sharing stories about how the boys have helped all of us. And there's just so much stuff to participate in still that you can still get on and do. Weavers has things lined up for everybody. And the one
Mhm.
thing that everybody should do is for sure go into Weavers Magazine. They have a spot in there where you can send a message to the boys. So we all have to do that because they put extra effort into making all this stuff happen for us so that we'd have content from them over Festa. I mean, to the extent that they recorded all kinds of stuff early so that it could be published for us now. So we need
Mhm.
to show them that we saw it and that we appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that what we've been saying all along is that we really want them to know that we are here and we're not going to be leaving. But at the same time, that the dynamic energy of Army as a collective unit is actually just constantly growing in terms of um, the beauty of what we do, us learning to be together, and that the boys as the foundation and the source of our wellness, that's not going anywhere. And God, and I'm not going to say this, please don't kill me, Army, but should they choose to come back in a different way, should they choose to come back and have a much different life, a quieter life, or maybe not do as much as they've done, I would be just as happy because I love them and I support them in everything that they do, right? So whatever makes them happy is what makes sense for us because it has to be about their wellness. They will always be indelible. You know how we talked, I think I'm not sure if you were on the show, but indelible, where they are like they're the love that they've right, Fleur, is indelible when they're it's
Indelible.
indelible when it is written directly into our DNA, our structure of who we are. To be able to have a source of wellness that is guiding us on a regular basis, even when the music's not there. That's the incredible part, right?
Mhm.
You know, when I say that, you're supposed to talk back, right, Terry? Poor Terry, this is her first
Oh,
2 days on the show. So she's learning what it means to be on the show and being guest. She has to learn that when I say something like that, you have
yeah,
to
I'm
answer
supposed to
me.
answer, yeah.
Poor
See, I
thing.
keep waiting for somebody else to chime in, but then
There is no,
realizing that,
no,
oh, we're on a live, there's nobody to chime in.
that's
Okay.
not how it works. You're so funny. I love it so much. It's the best.
Yes. Well, and look at how much they've I mean, they always shared, but they're sharing even more of themselves. I mean, JK's live when he went live sleeping shows a trust factor that's just amazing. The letter from RM, I mean, it's just like, and Jin's sending letters, they're all sent, regardless of where they are and mentally and physically, they're all staying in touch and sharing so much of themselves. Not that they didn't before, but it's like now their chapter 2 is even more about sharing the inside, the personal them.
Hmm. And how is that really helping us? I am now live on Instagram as well, my friends. So hey, um, how has that been helping us? So let's go back and do our opening because we haven't done it for a while. We kind of
Okay.
jump straight in, and I do that sometimes. I just go straight into the conversation. I'm like, dude, I am like the worst boss. I forget sometimes what I need to do. But we are living Bangtan 7, and we are a mental wellness based organization that focuses on promoting mental wellness, um, mental health, self care, specifically self care, through the healing messages of Bangtan Sonyadan. We are our parent company is Diversity Geek, which has been for 7 to 8 years, who I'm also CEO for, and that organization is focused on bringing the message of wellness and healing to fans throughout the world through healthy fandom. I've published research on that in the past, and my fandom, the one that has been the most healing in my life, is Bangtan. So we kind of made a decision last year after I had done some research that I was going to translate my healing message of Bangtan workshop into an actual program, and we launched it in June, and here we are. We were created to bring you wellness discussions, content, and musings based on the healing positive messages of Bangtan Sonyadan. And the name means living bulletproof 24/7. And our purpose is to help us all learn how to live confidently with self love throughout the day, protected by the support and love of BTS and Army. And living Bangtan 7 is a reminder of the power the bulletproof or Bangtan philosophy has as a source of healing, healthy coping, and support when we are struggling to believe in ourselves. And today, this is what we're talking about, exactly this one. Bangtan, or the Bangtan philosophy is what I call it, as a source of healing, healthy coping, and support when we are struggling to believe in ourselves. So it's a quite an interesting mm, dynamic to be able to say that a group of 7 artists, musical geniuses, have the ability to fuel our wellness factor. Do you, I mean, from Flor, who's in Peru and also from Spain, and then you're in the Midwest, Terry. Why do you think that you and Flora and I were able to toggle in and actually connect to that message in so much the same way? What is it about that message? Flor?
They share a message of unity. Um,
Ah,
I guess that's they hold all of us together under their umbrella and their music.
Mm.
And I think that's the link we share that make us meet each other and recognize each other even when we haven't met or we don't know. I guess that's it.
That is such a beautiful take because you remember how yesterday's show was about Bangtan as a unifying factor, like
Exactly.
this dynamic unifying engine that it's so far not reproducible, but it because it's still growing, so therefore um, the potential for the growth is so big. In that same way, then, Flora, because you're a physician as well, and you know mental health like I do, when we're working with the population, with the world, 50 million people, how does that message of unity, but how does their message of hope really help us to be able to connect to our own healing?
Um, I cannot answer that as a physician. I can answer that as a patient.
I would do it that way.
For me, um, when everything is dark, they are like the light. Mm, when I'm sick daily, when I'm at work, when I'm having a hard day at work, or I don't know, just a presentation, I need to them
Hmm.
be by my side. I listen their music before I have to do something. I view their reels if I'm very much stressed. I need to cool down. They're like the kind of um, friend that holds you, that's walking with you all the way.
That's it. So,
That's
our that's it. No, you're right. That's it. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, wow. Uh, I love how you always make something so simple. I talk a lot, so bear with me on that because I'm a writer, but it's very simple. We don't walk alone. We spent two shows talking about how we don't walk alone because we're always walking with the philosophy of who they are, the message of who they are, right? And so it kind of helps to take away some of the loneliness that we would feel if we didn't have that support. Something like that, right?
Mhm.
You think?
I
Well, and they
think.
always make sure that we don't forget that they're always, at least one of them is always giving us a message. You don't go through anything by yourself, and there's always somebody to send. I mean, even with Jin and Hobie being in the military, they're still providing messages to us. Granted, they can't do it as much as they would probably like to, but they still are. So it's like they're always staying seven, and they're always saying that they're seven with us. So we always know that we're going to have someone. And then now with Army
Mm,
all bonding together like we have so much the last few days. I mean,
mm,
look at how many places in the world we've had people come on the show from. And everybody feels the same way. Everybody wants to help everybody. Man, that's one of the comments you get all the time is, "Oh, this is the first time I met Army, and the first thing they did was they were nice to me and they said, "Oh, how can I help you with that?" Or do you want to come here and do you want to do this?" So you always have somebody looking out for you.
Look who just dropped into the chat. That was beautiful, Terry. It was perfect. Mia's here with us. She's not able to be on the live because she has a meeting, but she wanted to drop in. And look, Nia, thank you so much for
Hi,
being
Nia.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you.
We love your song, Nia.
Oh my gosh, girl, we've been talking about that song and how your song is a representation of everything we've done for the last 2.5 years, 2.5 days. Feel free to chat in here 2.5 years. Well, I mean, hey, we've been working on these projects for 2.5 years. I that was a slip. Um, I really, I know that it was a massive undertaking for you, Nia, but you know, how is it how does it, and this is something I'm asking for myself too. How is it to feel the love that you've been receiving from Army? Because the music video has just gotten so many views, and For me, the feedback I'm getting from everyone, honey, is that they absolutely adore it. We adore it. So I hope that that's what you're receiving, if she's able to, because I know she's doing something. So hopefully she could drop in and say, "Hey," or answer that question. But everyone else, we listened to the Army song by Nia. Um, Tell me, that's a perfect example. How I know, actually, Flora, you told me how you felt when you listened to that song. Are you able to talk to us about that? It,
Yesterday was like I was in an emotional breakdown. I was crying all day because I was listening take two because I have to do reels and I was listening to Nia song and that I was like crying. I was crying all day.
crying, right? But they're good tears, right?
Yes, there were good tears. It was an overwhelming emotion to me of happiness and
There it was, an overwhelming
pressure.
emotion of happiness. That's exactly what we're talking about. That overwhelming emotion of happiness and joy. When I posted for this in YouTube, you're gonna notice I put some interesting terms. I use Lachi Molala, I use Rock Bison, I use lovely, 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 because those key phrases just automatically turn on the joy factor in us. And that's the gift that they give us, right? It's not just the music, it's the memories that come from their digital content as well. Run BTS. So all of Bon Voyage, all of In the Soup. So that emotional release that you felt, and that, like you, Terry, we talked about, that's a good thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Tell me,
Well, look at I mean, we actually even have like new words in our vocabulary because of them. I mean, you meet other army and you can say borahe, or, it's like there are different phrases. Like you said, the laji molala. Everybody knows what you're talking about. Even new army will know. It's just, we've created a whole new culture
mhm.
based on, and based on wellness, really, because everybody has a story to tell about how they met the boys and how they got involved with all of it. And everybody had some crisis that they needed to have help with. And they were able to do that by, by helping each other and following BTS.
Well, not everyone, but to be fair, I actually, you know what? I don't think there isn't a stream or a thread or a chat that I go on where we're not hearing how their messages have helped people to cope, truly deeply cope with things like grief, loss, pure
Mhm.
loss. Um, and we've had so many people say that without them, they wouldn't be here. That people, it always hits me in my heart, because we are a suicide reduction. We're a company that's trying to create a language that helps people to connect to something to reduce their depression and their anxieties, right? That's why we're here. We don't talk about it in that way, but we're trying to give you the tools. So how does it make you feel when we see that Army, Florida too, you know that Army is using their messages as a tool to cope?
It's great. They really help you when you are really down. They really get you out. I don't know how they do it, but they do. And that's okay.
That's the good part of it. I guess we may not need to know how they do it. They just do. And they actually ask the questions of us all the time. We are bulletproof. Eternal is that question. How did we do this? How did we get this lucky? Um, But I mean, you connected, I connected, Terry connected. What was the one factor that helped you to feel like they were? I oftentimes tell people I feel like they rewrote my own self language, my awareness of who I am as a person. That's a really big thing, and that me with their work, I was able to figure out parts of myself that I had not been able to. What do you think that you connected to the most that has kept you here, Terry?
Um, I think just the fact of, for me, it's how open they are to show us all their vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that for me has been a big help because then it's like, well, you're not afraid of what you might say because you might think, oh, somebody's going to say something. And it's like, well, but if Sugar can talk about his mental health and RM can write these beautiful letters saying, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure it out, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure right now. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's something that, and them being so much younger than me and having so much stuff figured out already is kind of embarrassing, to be honest.
It is not embarrassing. Take that back, my lady. Take that back.
Yeah. But that's what keeps me drawn to them because there's always some new thing or new thought and always supportive. And their stuff is so accessible. I mean, go on YouTube, go on Twitter, talk to other Army. You can just, it's everywhere. It's for somebody to say that they can't find them, it's like, well, then you're not looking at all because there's so many places that you can find. You don't have to have the internet or anything like that. Find other Army. People see you with BTS logos on something, or they see you with
Mhm.
little things on your backpack and stuff. And then the comment always is, "Oh, are you Army? Who do you like? Have you seen this?" So there's always a common thing that's you have to talk about. You can start a conversation. I mean, that's kind of how a lot of people met. I mean, look at you met Flora in New York, where
Mhm.
she went by herself, and now she's got all of us for extra family.
I know.
Yeah.
My family is so huge. My family is so huge. Um, well, the boys' family is 50 million. So yeah, I think we might be close. We might be toggling up there too. But let me talk a little bit about how we are able to then translate those coping strategies. So let's talk about coping real quick. I'm gonna do that because from my background, there are many different books out in the world that teach us how to cope when we're struggling with something like grief, which is of course what helped me. They helped me with and continue to help me with is the strong level of grief that I've been living with my brother's losses, and um, I I thought about how they were helping me to heal and what is it about fandom that was helping me to heal as Nisha, as this woman who was 50 something years of age and had struggled through, there's a lot of trauma, and then leaving with the with the loss of my brother, um also to a mental illness. So it what was it that these I was able to look at these boys and say, okay, they're a source of allowing me to heal. One, I was able to disconnect. So it allowed me in the very beginning of all of it, no largesse to it, they allowed me to disconnect from the pain for a while because they're beautiful. So when we're working on coping and healing, we need moments where we can disconnect from the thing that's attaching to us, right? Like that's holding on to us and causing the struggle. So in the beginning, watching them was about being able to have moments of just disconnecting from that thing and just looking at these seven beautiful human beings because they were just so bright. Now, if you had to look at your coping or how they've been helping you, what is a strategy that they've helped you with? Like for me, it was being able to disconnect from the negative thing, the thing that was holding on to me. What would you think?
For
I know it's
me, it was like run, everybody keeps bringing up Run BCS, and that for me was really something that helped you come home from the stress of the day, or even sometimes on break.
mm,
Um, you need to de-stress. You watch that, and you're like laughing out loud. So that's one of the things that always helped me. You cope by, well, like you said, disconnect, but I choose to more say ignore the because
no,
if you
I
do
like the
it,
word de-stress though. That was good.
yeah. But if you do it when you're at work, it's more like giving you a few minutes to, yes, de-stress, but also ignore. Because when you go back out on the floor, because I work in retail, when you go back out on the floor, that stress is still there, but you can ignore it because you have the thoughts of all of the the fun things and all the joy that they gave you. So for
So
me, it
is
helps me
it,
Oh,
cope.
that's so
hi,
true.
Iva.
Holy.
How are you? Is that ignoring? You know what that is, though. That was okay. So you use de-stress, but that's actually a coping strategy that you're talking about. It asks you to be able to um, it's called redirect, is what you just said, right,
Okay.
Flora? That's called redirecting. And actually, that is probably one of the number one strategies or tools that Bangtan's digital content allows us to do. It allows us to redirect a negative thought, a negative feeling, or sense of being overwhelmed or stressed, and take that and put it aside for a while so that we can then just feel the joy part of it. And then that makes it easier to go back out on the floor, or
Mhm.
go back out and for us to see patients or just to go about our daily life, right? Um, so that's good, but that's called redirecting, hon. It's not even ignoring. It's actually a different word. So now you know.
Yeah.
um, Flora, what do you think? So we have disconnecting, and disconnecting is a good thing, as long as it's you don't stay disconnected. You need it's so you disconnect and then you do you redirect. So that's
Mhm.
perfect. Okay, how about what are you thinking, Flora? Poor Flora, I'm making her. She's Spanish speaking, and
Yeah.
I'm making this poor thing translate in her brain everything to English to answer my questions. I feel so bad.
No, it's not that. I'm thinking like
I know,
how think about the question. Um,
man. Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, what kept me into BTS, it was obviously it was Yoongi, but it was because he said something I needed to hear,
Hmm.
and it was truthful, and it was, I don't know if the right word would be clinical, because it was lack of emotion.
Was it almost
Um,
apathetic in a sense? It
no,
removed.
no,
Mm-mm.
no. It's because, okay, I'm gonna say it. I'm bipolar. I have some trouble. I've been dealing with depression sometimes. So, in the last, when he speaks about his mental health, I
Hmm.
felt like I was speaking with someone who understood me.
Understood.
I wasn't speaking to a doctor. I wasn't speaking to a friend. I wasn't speaking to family. I didn't feel shame. I didn't feel like
Hmm.
you should be thinking that. Nothing. I just felt understood. I was like, I think sometimes we should speak like in that term, because that's something that happens to you. I didn't ask for this. That happened,
Hmm.
and I need to go with it. So
That's connection. That's so you identified. So your that
that's it.
strategy is identifying. That's
Mm.
perfect. That's perfect. I mean, everyone here knows because everyone who knows me and knows the show knows that I also am dealing, work with chronic depression because it's just part of what goes on with living with the chronic disease too. There's a lot of things that come with that. Um, so I think, hi Mary, nice to see you. We have Army over here on Instagram. Haifa's coming to us over. We have French Army on, by the way. And we have I think we have Spain, Army from Spain. I'm trying to
It looks
figure it
like
out.
it.
I'm looking at all the different sites at the same time, so I'm trying to make sure. Um, I think we're talking about a connection. So we use the word connection pretty freely throughout this last 2 days. You're talking. There's a heart-to-heart connection that I like to think. I think about it in that way. But in this case, you're talking about identifying with the story, with Jungi's story, because it made sense in your story. You know, kind of like that. Yeah.
Yes, but it's also by
Mm.
who he is. He doesn't judge.
No.
So it felt like that. It's just, I wasn't being judged. He was just acknowledged. That's it. It was just acknowledged the problem. And
That's it. Okay, then we'll go in acknowledgement. It's okay. We're working through this. That's what this is. I love it. Okay, an acknowledgement was actually the theme of our entire Festa event, isn't it? From the very get-go, we said that we were talking about recognition and acknowledgement, and that everything that we've done for the 2+ days is about recognizing and acknowledging those parts of ourselves and how BTS has helped us. So we looked at healthy disconnection and then redirection, right? We looked at those and how they're sources of that for us. Um, and then we were looking at um, identity and identifying in kinship with them and with their stories or with the music or their chaos, and and then feeling accepted and acknowledged. That was a lot we just waded through, guys. That was a ton. That was amazing. Hi, Peggy. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so happy you've been on for so many shows. Yay. Um, so let me ask you. You guys know I named this "Calm Down, My Daughter" for a reason, right? um, it's not just for the pun of "Calm Down, My Daughter." Oh, Andrea's here. Finally. It's actually, hey, Andrea.
Hello.
Hi. So the name of we named it this way because from the moment I watched House of Army and I saw that Namjoon and that Hobie and were willing, and well, Jimin being cute as a little puppy is like, okay, that's a given. We're good with that. That was as cute as all get out. But the two of them being able and multiple times being able to carefree, just adopt these roles and these other personas in order to bring something to us so fun and so energetically engaging. And Hobie's like, I don't know how I'm going to be a mom. I don't know how I'm going to do that. And then he gets up there and he nails it.
Don't forget Jin as a banana.
And not his favorite thing, by the way.
I know, but he did it. But he kept yelling at them, saying, "I'm not supposed to laugh. Will you guys quit making me laugh?"
So that's the point of House of Army. It came to me at a time when that line "Calm Down, My Daughter" just somehow or the other wrote itself into my into my brain as a line that was always going to connect me back, not just the House of Army, but to the thing Namjoon and Hobie saying, we didn't know, oh gosh, we're going to play female characters, and can we do that? And then they go out there and they just literally represent us in every way, shape, and form. They weren't just, no, Namjoon was Army, Kim Army, and Hobie is like Army and Army mom. And the House of Army, it just became exactly what Mary's saying here. It just became this crazy source of like just coping, like just hope and fun. So Calm Down, My Daughter always brings this entire montage into my head of fun and joy. And like I could feel it on the inside of me as soon as I say those lines. So that's actually why I named this episode what you see. I named it actually because I wanted to share that in that moment, it's my moment of hope and my moment of calm, as chaotic as they are, by the way.
So okay, I have a question for you though.
Yeah.
When we're talking about coping, if you watch the progression of them from the House of Army to how they are now, to me, it seems like they're trying to cope, but instead of before where everything was all about helping us and showing us, now it's like they're saying, okay, we made it to phase 2, but we still need to cope. And so now we have a whole new set of things where they're actually showing us what they're doing to try and cope. Or am I reading that wrong?
No, you're not reading it wrong. That is physically what Namjoon has spent the last year doing, physically manifesting and showing us his journey of being able to go through acknowledgement of what he's been struggling with to the point that he literally put it in his Army letter. That letter, he literally says, I'm recognizing, hey, we're going back to recognizing and acknowledging that I have struggled with being able to with my own identity. And now I can say to myself, that's actually okay. That's actually okay. I'm recognizing and acknowledging that struggling with my identity is perfectly fine. And that it will continue to be part of what my journey is. But I get it now because I actually know I have you to always support me. Isn't that us usually saying that?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what you said. It's usually the opposite, but here we are. I love that you said that, because now we get to be on the other side of that and their support system. So, Andrea, we're talking about so what we were a few moments ago, what we were talking about is how does taking a few moments of your time in your day when you're dealing with stress and trauma, how has how does taking a few moments to turn on an episode like, our House of Army or Muster, Fifth Muster, and Magic Shop, how does that help with your healing and with your coping?
Well, especially just watching their friendship is healing because it's just wonderful to watch them. And then at least for me, the Run BTS is when I found out I was laughing out loud because I feel like I
Mhm.
don't laugh out loud a lot. It was like, that's healing for me, probably. Um, to
Mhm.
laugh out loud at something because I'm sometimes a very stoic person. Um, and just watching them, they're just so funny and they make everything they do fun. And I wish I was as fearless as they are when they, like you said, dress up as women, or when, oh my gosh, when Arm had to come out dressed as a Sailor Moon, or what was that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. And he just was like trying to have attitude, but he had his makeup messed up all over his face. And they wear those skits and costumes in the beginning of their, when they first,
Early days, yeah.
like, how many of us would do that without feeling like we look stupid? But, JK's running around and strutting it. And
Okay,
that,
Jin in his beautiful long red
Oh,
dress
yeah, on a
on a
treadmill, no
treadmill.
less.
yes.
I mean, let's just be fair, people. How many of us have gone back and watched that how many times? No, no, it's not because he's in a dress. And again, I will always say this: we don't
No.
sexualize the boys. It's about the fact that he knew. Did you see his face? And he was like, "I know I'm making you happy, Army. So I'm doing it." Did I make you happy, Army? Yes, actually, you made
That's
us
like
happy.
all the things all of them do. If you listen to talk, they do it to make other people smile.
Mm-hmm.
But they also are so supportive of each other that they know they will
Aw.
get teased by their own mates, but they won't get made fun of by their own mates.
That's absolutely. So Haifa, who's on Instagram, answered that watching them was like I found a pocket of oxygen in a toxic situation.
There
Isn't
you
that
Oh,
go.
wow, that's
beautiful?
gorgeous. What a
Ah,
comment.
that is a
Hey,
beautiful comment. Oh my
that
God.
is.
My Instagram
Wow.
community, please, please, please feel free. Please feel free. I know that it's unless you guys jump on one of the other sites. If you're on IG watching, please put the comments down here. As you see, I'll read them. So I absolutely adore that concept. Let me toggle into that then, Haifa. If when we're in that type of situation, whether it's toxic, our entire body is like in struggling when we're going through trauma, depression, anxiety, stress, or when we're tired, we're exhausted. Like yesterday, I was very honest with Army. I wasn't feeling well. I again, chronic disease. There are days I don't feel wonderful, and so I needed to decompress for myself. And in those moments, it feels like detoxing. Exactly what she's saying. Does that make sense, though?
Mhm.
So I guess then, how how do you move on then into the next, because now you've had that moment where your body's had a refrain, right, and there's some respite. Now you go on to the next moment, and the next moment may be stressful. How does that help with the next moment?
Well, I think if you remember and then you just carry through to the next moment and go, well, that really bugged me, and this is what I did to help it. And there's
Mhm.
no reason why I can't help you in the same situation a little bit further down the road, because you should be able to, remember it doesn't always have to be about watching the videos or whatever. A lot of it could be, or should be, to me, should be about remembering those feelings you had when you were watching like Run BTS and stuff like that, and saying, well, I can use that, the memory of what that looked like, and your memories can become real and they can help you cope with the situation then.
You're leading straight into literally our project, our Army Day project. You realize the Army Day project is about that, is about those healthy, the healing memories. So where I should probably take a second, and then since you just said it, that was beautiful. I love that. And just so you know, the reel that I'm going to be putting out for Festa is actually named Memories. Our BTS memories. It's the only thing I'm telling you. So wavelength. I love it. I love you. I don't know if you're old enough to know the term. I love it when a plan comes together. Remember the A Team? I used to love it when Hannibal would say.
Oh, yes.
I used to love it when he'd say it because I'd be like, I need to live my life like that. I love it when a plan comes together. And like Hobie's like that. He loves when everything comes into place and falls into place. And so I always like with putting together an event like this, or even writing or talking about these concepts, my hope is that what I'm saying makes sense to people. And I'm always wondering, well, is what I'm saying just my opinion, or is it actually something that makes sense? But then all of you come on here and you're like, yeah, no, that's exactly correct. And then you're like, oh yeah, I had that thought. And I'm like, we had the same thought. That is the beauty of them and their content. That connection now goes beyond a physical connection. It's not just that we're watching anymore. Now we have what's called an intellectual connection. Does that make sense? There's a spiritual and an intellectual connection. There are 11 stages according to um oh my goodness, I just lost it. But I'll tell you who it is because it's my research, for God's sakes. The research went out of my head. But there are 11 stages in what we call self-actualization. And two of those stages, like Saifa, is called, there's intellectual and spiritual context of self. So that's what you're describing. Memories move into a spiritual context of self, and they help and guide you to be able to get through to the next day. Oh, hold on. I'm getting comments. I'm trying to do comments there and here at the same time. Aww. That's beautiful, Mary. I'm so sorry. I hope it works. I hope it's working for him.
That's
really
wonderful.
Oh, beautiful. Mary says, I have a son who has a speech delay. And to hear him sing BTS songs so clearly, it just makes her so happy. Isn't that amazing,
That
Arnie?
is amazing. That's his connection, connection to them.
So that's actually intellectual because it's actually helping him manifest physically. So that's very interesting. I think someday in life we're going to deep dive into the neuroplasticity side of what I do. But like that's a lot to talk about now. But in the future we'll probably get a little more into it. So let me ask you then. Well, as it should be, intellectual. What did I say? I called it. I got it. Because what did I tell you guys? Namjoon is my intellectual bias. He's my brain. It's not that everybody isn't, because they're all they're extreme geniuses. Every ounce of them is genius. But there's this thing about Namjoon's brain that I'm able to somehow or the other understand his thinking process. That's also a coping strategy. Floor and Andrea and anyone who wants to answer anywhere, talk to me about how we can identify with 7 Korean boys who are all between ages 26 and 30. But yet we are from all over the world and every age and gender. Can you give me your take on why we are able to identify with them?
To me, we are close in age with some. I'm in my 30s, so it's okay. And I'm in my 30s, I feel like I'm 20, so I relate to them by age, definitely. But also, emotionally with Suga.
Mm-hmm.
But with the rest of them, as a group, I would like that I've met them before, but I also would like them to meet them when I was a teenager, because I felt like I was struggling with a lot of competition against myself and against all others for the things I've done, the path I choose to work, and all that. So they helped me to go through all that And they also have taught me that it's okay to, they say it's okay to lose, but they also say you have to live your life. So I choose the last sentence because I've learned that I have to be focused on myself than on what other things and what other people expect me to do. Or I think that's it. Mm,
Hmm.
and when the others, I don't know. I think like that I guess if I do with them as a group because of that reason, the reasons. But individually, I know RM loves to read. I love to read. Jean loves to eat. I love to eat. I found some similarities with all of them.
Don't forget, Namjoon reads because of Jin. So just saying. Sorry, it's the Jin bias in me, man. It comes out all the time. I can't help it. No, I'm just scrolling through pictures of my loves, our loves, while we
Yeah.
chat. So, Andrea, how about you? And raising children, especially, um, and that's you're right, exactly. It's a big conversation for us to have about identity in the way that the boys are helping me to find my identity. And how is that even possible? I ask it of myself often, not in a bad way, by the way. I don't self judge it. I ask so I understand it. So, what do you think of yourself in terms of identity formation and coping? How have they helped with that?
Well, for me, I mean, just like I said, they're fearless, and have, I guess I felt like I grew up in a very judgmental society and family. So I let things hold me back, and I didn't want to be embarrassed. I didn't want to look bad. I didn't want to look stupid. And I'm trying to get through that to not care because I love watching them not care. I love when V does whatever he feels like doing and they go skipping down the sidewalk or they go grocery shopping and they're the silliest things. And I want to be that way. I want to be enough for me that I don't worry what other people think. And I don't, because that's stressful. It's very stressful to worry about what other people think about you just going to the store or going out with your friends. You like, that's stressful. And then you come home and you're just like I'm not a naturally outgoing person. And so when I have to get up and do things for crowds or my women's club I'm in that I was president, it's actually draining. I have to go home and crash and decompress for a while because it takes all my energy to be on.
Yes, on. Exactly right. You know, their song "On" literally is about this concept. If you go back and pare it away, it's about on and on and on. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Okay, go ahead. I love that concept. So then, are you able to go back and then toggle back and say, okay, this is Andrea. This is the part of Andrea that they're helping me to stay connected to, and I like this part of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I would sometimes it's funny because like after watching things, I'll be like kind of acting like them or say things they've said because I like how they said it. And I'm just like, nobody else will understand this phrase except for someone who's into BTS, but someone else who is into the guys would understand it and laugh with me about that phrase or understand it, like saying, so what, instead of taking it as an insult, that someone else would understand that that's being like, so what, you know?
So what? And that's how I say it now. It comes out like that because JK likes to do it that way. I love that. So that's another coping strategy. So how many have we had? Because I'm not writing them all down, but I really do need to do that. We talked about disconnect. We talked about redirect. We talked about positive identity. We talked about self identity. And then we talked about healing memories, right? And now we're getting back to what was the one I just said for you? Because I'm losing it.
The so what or the on?
So what? So what is a strategy? There's no other word you need but that. It's a healing strategy, it's a coping strategy. The world around you is asking things of you. And in this moment, if you can't, and it's not something healthy and healing for you, you just go, if you have to adopt that concept of what Jin says, what, and what they're saying is that in this moment, somebody calls you wrong, somebody calls you right. So what? That's not your identity. That's not who you are. You know your truth, right? And just live to your truth. I'm going to read a comment from Haifa. She's been keeping coming in here. She says, I found that we have struggled because we're not in the criteria of the society or of the culture, and it's okay to be different. Just do what you want. Hold on. Just do what you want. Ah, hold on. No matter how you do it. They taught me it's okay not to be exactly what people expect from you, and just be who I am, what I want to be. And if someone else doesn't like it, it's okay. And if you don't like it and you need to change it, it's okay too. That's acceptance. So that's self truth right there. That is about acceptance. That's a big space to get to in your life. And it doesn't always mean that because we're listening or, um, you know, in this moment that we know that we've learned to accept ourselves, that it's going to stay that way. But that's okay, because life is a moving thing, right? It's a moving engine. Remember in our conversation, the last one, Andrea, I was saying how every day is a different day.
It is.
You can't rely on today for tomorrow. You have to rely on today for today. And when you wake up tomorrow, you have to be that person.
And every day is a clean slate.
Every day is a clean slate. But you're just building on the strategies and the tools that you had in the past. And that's the thing that we get with Jungi and Shura in Suchita, where they had that conversation a few minutes ago, where we're hearing them go, and just remember, Jin is like, just remember, I told you that this album is already showing you that you've achieved, that you've learned to live in your now, right? You've learned to live in your now. Whereas in the past, in the soup, Jungi was going, I don't know how to get out of my past. I don't know how to get out of worrying about my future. And Jin was like, but you just need to live in the happiness of today. And you have to believe that you're allowed and accept that you're allowed to live in the happiness of today. So acceptance and acknowledgement, going right back to that again with the coping. I mean, I hear myself talking and I realize that I'm talking about Bangtan Sonyeon, and I'm talking about BTS. I am talking about 7 Korean boys out of Korea who have started as a K-pop idols, and yet this is what they have gifted us.
But they have become so much more, and
Exactly it.
that's what separates them from the other K-pop groups. They have strived to be so much more. They have strived to be an example to people. They have strived to be an example to youth. They have strived to each better themselves, and they've done things that nobody at age 26 to 30 could have imagined doing, like speaking at the General Assembly Union and being, the UNICEF ambassadors and traveling to the United States to meet the President of the United States. Those are amazing accomplishments that they weren't trying to accomplish, but because of what they did, they accomplished that.
Aww. The Love Myself campaign being extended past the original because the UN asked them to, because it was that successful. How does this happen? And let's go back to that. The Love Myself campaign is probably one of the largest of a coping strategy and a healing technique. The fact that they put it out there and that it's a campaign about knowing and loving and speaking yourself, and in order to end violence, all types, levels of violence in the world. What better example can we have if we didn't have anything else? And if a person was coming along and you wanted to talk to them as about BTS as a coping healing strategy, what is something that you would talk to them about if they didn't want to know about the music? Ooh, I threw you for a loop on that one. I always go back to the Love Myself campaign for the end violence, and the fact that it is now 6 years going on the 7th year, that it is something that is so effective. And because of their connection to Army, they've been able to effectively raise funds and spread the message throughout the globe. So if there was another piece of content that they had that wasn't only their music, what would you tell people to watch for their healing or coping?
Well, I usually, for people that are new to BTS and they don't, it's like, well, I don't like their music or any of that, those sorts of things. I always say, well, but it's not the music. I myself always refer to Love Yourself. I send them, I said, they spoke at the UN. Listen to this person saying, I'm just this, and I struggle to be this, but I'm learning this. And just, I go back to RM a lot for
Mhm.
Mhm.
validation of them as a group because he is so eloquent in the things that he says. Even in his struggle, he is. Just the way that he writes things. He doesn't just say, I'm having a bad day today. Oh, well. He like, he tells you what his bad day is. And he tells you that that's okay. And he tells you, I'm trying to get over it, but today I'm not doing well. But you know what? That's okay. So that I think they're the things that they write and the like when they did and the things that they said, like the graduation speeches, where they're all saying, well, you're coming here in your life and you need to do this. And they always tell you, be well, eat well, live well.
Absolutely. Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. I do bring. You're right. I bring a lot of the conversation back to the three elder brothers. As a matter of fact, well, the three elders are. Hmm. I actually bring it back to Yoongi and Jin quite a lot, but then Namjoon with his lyricism, and then Hobie, and then of course the Makking too. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, I have this concept that there's different types of army. You don't have to be the army the way that we are the army, where we are all encompassing, right? The music and everything. I call people intellectual army. So those
Mhm.
who look at the largest of the work that they've done, their lyrics, who look at the their lives, who look at their interviews because they're deep. you
Yeah.
know, their interviews are very, very deep. I mean, KBS, as light as it was a very deep conversation within themselves about identity and acknowledging who they are and knowing that even through the hate that they actually could find who they themselves. So there are a lot of people who I talk to. I'm like, just at least read this part, read this speech, da 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 da. So and then there army, I say, like my family, who are by proxy. Army by proxy, because they're the family and they're like they're just supporting us as we love them, and they're also absorbing the positive message. So that's kind of how I've compartmentalized. Does anyone else want to share, because we are now time for us to close? We are in our last few minutes of Still With You, 10 years of wellness with BTS and with Bangtan. I can't believe we're at the end of this of this entire event. I don't even, wow, I feel like it went by in a blur. If you wanted to share probably a moment with someone from the Bangtan discography or videography, one or two that you thought probably would help someone with a cope to heal, what would be one of those moments? Let's lead out with that. I know, right? It's not like I didn't hand you 10 years of content to work. She's like, let me peel through my brain. 10 years of content. Ooh.
There's a lot of content out there.
I know you and I have been watching for so long. It's like, wait a second. Oh my God.
And there's so much I haven't seen. That's the
I
thing. There's so much more out there to see that I haven't seen. Um, I kind of joined up when they were later in their years, not their younger years. And when you look at those pictures, they're such babies. I mean, they look
know.
like babies, and you're just like, oh. And I get hurt when they're hurt. That's the thing. When I see someone treat them bad, I am so protective of them. And so when they accomplish something, I'm like so proud of them. It's a weird reaction, like just watching it on TV or whatever, that I'm, if I feel like something's saying something bad, I get mad at them.
You're so right. You're so right. I do. So does anyone, oops, here's Mary. And that goes back to what you said, Mary. You feel like they're your brothers who shared their whole lives with you for the 10 years, and it makes you so happy. Yeah, that's literally exactly what I think most of us feel. And there are of course Army who have a different take on the relationship, but for us, I feel like they're my. I tell my two children, you have 7 siblings, and because that's the way it feels to me.
We're protective of them.
Hmm.
We just want to keep them safe,
I think that that identity and the identification and what we name our relationship is going to be based on who we are and where we are in our lives, and our age groups, etc. Flora might see it differently than we might because
Sure.
she's an age compatriot, but then Mary saying you feel like they're your brothers. So if you could, but though really truly, you could come up with one piece of content. What was one that really like always lives in your head?
I think Arm's UN speech. For him being 24 and writing that kind of speech, it was amazing. And my favorite part is when he says, like, speak your voice. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what color you are. It's speak your voice. And I actually took a part of that when I gave my speech to my women's group club and used it as my farewell speech. Because it always rings in my head. That phrase goes through my head all the time, about, be yourself, speak your truth, know who you are, find your passion.
Absolutely.
And that is constantly in my head.
Interesting thing is that portion of his speech has been quoted many times in graduation speeches and business speeches.
Yep. A lot of graduations have that.
A lot of people have quoted him, and it's not the students; it's the actual faculty, and they're again business people. That speech has its own life, and it's a perfect example of a piece of content that's not music. That is literally
that is separate from the music. That what they do there is separate from the music, and that will go down in history also.
It has. They're historic. We're historic. We're not. There's not going to be a us again. Namjoon just said that. Namjoon literally in the thing. I'm going to play it out again now. As I ended it, Namjoon said, "BTS and Army, we're something that no one's ever going to be able to understand. It's a dynamic and an energy and a love that is just so, but it's a trust and a respect."
Yeah.
And I'm going to go with the respect part of it a lot. That goes, I think, beyond. You know what it is? Let me step back. You know what it is? Our relationship actually follows these things the way these words were meant to be followed. Our respect, we live respect. We live that love. We live that hope and that connection. Like it's not like it's there's no fake to it. It's it's real. It's a tangible thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
I think we exemplify it. Yeah.
Which is why when you meet other Army, you always it's like meeting yourself and your best self, because you're going to treat them the way they always say, well, you should treat people this way, you should treat people that way, but when you're Army, you do. And that's what signifies being a true Army, that you are like BTS taught us to be. Everybody is equal and everybody is welcome.
That's what it is. Equal and welcome. That's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. At no point in life do those boys see us as anything other than the same as them. Never. They don't put themselves above us. That's why I call them the humble seven. And I have the humble seven for so long. I use that hashtag everywhere. And I know a lot of people don't understand it, but now you know. Their humility is exemplary. Exemplary. I want that all youth and all people in the world might look at them and go, this is what it means to be humble. They're multi-gazillionaires and they walk down the street and pull out a 50,000 won, no won to go buy a coffee because this is their life. This is who they are. They're just humble and they're real. So we didn't play our title reel, and I'm going to play that real quickly. And then we're going to play the one that Floor made. And then we're going to give our goodbyes, guys. Goodbyes to Festa 2023. I can't believe it. Whew. Okay, hang on.
We are bulletproof.
And Haifa, I'm going to read your messages real quick, and then we're going to go to the last. Meeting Army is like meeting a member of family. When you meet Army, you are already in a safe space. Yep, safe space. I think we talked about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Turn off your cams when I do video, because otherwise it skews the thing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
아무것도 생각하지 마. 넌 아무 말도 꺼내지도 마. 그냥 내게 웃어줘.
So that reel is, there's going to be a longer version of it at some point. Poor Floor, poor thing. She's been helping me get everything done. You guys, I'm going to pay the last reel real quick. Sometimes computer running backstage, there's a lot of steps to it. Okay. Let's see.
Will you stay? 흘러가는 저 시간 잡아두고 싶어. With me. Where you go? 어떤 얼굴을 하고 서 있을까? 이제 기억나지 않는 새벽들. Stay. I'm running one in the days. We've been walking so many ways. 가슴이 터질 것 같아.
Okay. How hard is it to not sing to that song? Let me just say.
I had to make sure my microphone was off.
I keep forgetting to turn off my mic, and I keep singing. So
And you might, before we're totally gone, you might want to show, we'll be sending it out anyways, but that we actually have merch to go with our Festa celebration.
We do, and we're doing that. And these two lovelies on here are part of our fundraising team. Living Bangtan 7 is part of the DG engine, as we've spoken about. And we have been working pretty tirelessly for years to bring content, workshops, projects, funding, not just Army, but fans across the world through the DG engine and now through the Living Bangtan 7 to be able to manifest projects, to be able to get to conventions, to be able to publish their books. We've been working as a nonprofit behind the scenes, funding small projects and mentoring small organizations as they grow their organizations and helping them with their wellness language. So we've been doing that for the last 7 to 8 years. And now with Living Bangtan 7, we've actually started to do the same. And we have projects where we're working with vendors to help to support them and bring their work out, even talking with Nia and being able to help spread Nia's message, and with other Army across the globe to help to highlight the altruistic and charitable projects that they're doing across the world. So in order for that to happen, as we grow, because we actually are considering becoming a full-time organization. Well, I am full-time. I do it full-time, plus I work in neuropsychiatry. In order to continue those projects, we are actually officially launching this line of Festa merch, but also Bangtan and Army merch designs that we created specifically for you guys, Army and BTS forever. Can you see it? And actually, I did the majority of the designs, and we have a few still coming out. These merch is going to be hosted on the websites of two companies. One of them is on Etsy on Simply Costume, Simply Custoom. The other one is on eBay, and that one is The Abundant Exchange on eBay. The Abundant Exchange on eBay, right there. And the other one is down here. So they're not, it's not like they're fundraising for us. They're just going to host the items, and a percentage of what comes out of that, we kind of they help us. They'll just support with projects. That's how it is. It's nothing crazy. Um, I think I also thought about us being able to bring you content in a way where you were able to see and receive the positive messaging. So we kind of decided, let's go with some merchandise. So
That you also might want to mention, they're all
yes,
handmade.
everything is handmade, as a matter of fact. So custom designs by myself, and you have 3 more designs coming out. Then all of the work is done by Joyce, who is Simply Costume here in Orlando, and the keychains and the pins are all done by Cherry Roselli, and she's in Washington, Seattle, Washington. And yes, we do ship worldwide, so you will be able to have access to those. These are going to go live with the links to find the items on all of our social media sites later today. These are going to stay live all the way through Army Day. And hopefully beyond that, depending on what our project needs are. Now, with that being said, the very last thing as we end, my dears, is the project that we're doing for Army Day. Um, for Army Day, that project is for you guys to send us in written content, video content, or art content that explains or is a written shows how the healing messages of Bangtan helped you in your wellness journey. How the healing messages of Bangtan have helped you in your wellness journey. If you want to write it in poetry, short story, if you want to do a piece of art, or if you want to send in a short video. The goal is to have as many of those sent into us, hopefully in the next few weeks, because we have to try and create the montage and the collages to be able to release those for Army Day, and that's just a few weeks away. So try everybody to. We're going to put the link out for that. We're hoping to try and get as many as we can in the next 2 weeks, so that we have 2 weeks to do all of the editing. So there you go, guys. So a lot of things coming to you still from content. Stay with us, because we're going to have a day event for Army Day, and it's just a single day, but we'll probably be coming to you with about 6 shows on that day, and then of course revealing our video montages and collages as our gift for BTS. So everyone, up banco, love you, love you, love you. Thank you so much for
Thank you
being
for
here.
joining us.
So much for joining us. Please stay tuned. We're going to be dropping the last game, which is called Permission to Dance. And that is actually a choreo. It's a 2-part. So you're going to see an image with 10 choreo dances. What you have to do is put them in timeline order and name them. Timeline order and name them. Okay. So that's the fun part of it. You have to know which one came first and which one came last. And then you have to tell us the name. Then submit it in the Google Doc form, which we are going to be posting to our sites in just a little bit. And we actually our scavenger hunt ends today as well. So please go to our social media sites and try and find that scavenger hunt. That's 10 plus 1 music videos that span the discography and of Bangtan, and they all have a message. So when you finish it and you look at all the images and you read my clues, you're going to know what the message is. Get that done, guys. Send it back to us as soon as you can. Okay, love you. And there may be surprises for the top 2 people. Yay. Love everyone. Up above.
Bye, bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, my boys. Te shuka amida. Amida. Sarangi BTS. Te shuka amida. Love you, boys. We love you. We love you. We love you. All right. It takes 2